And Mark, there's still quite a few players at Manchester United whose futures are up in the air. When do we get clarity on these things?
Well, if someone picks up the phone to Manchester United today, they're going to get quoted one price. If those players are still in the Manchester United building in 6 weeks' time, the price will change. Now, there's potentially, 4 players that could be departing, certainly, in the ones we've been speaking about. Dharmesh has mentioned Jadon Sancho. The other players there, obviously Marcus Rashford, who has 3 years left on his current contract. Another one of those big hitters who's on big money as well.
Big wages.
Big wages, which will be a stumbling block for a number of sides. Anthony's the other one who had that successful loan spell at Real Betis, but he still has a couple of years left on his Old Trafford deal. And Sancho Garnacho as well. So I'd imagine out of those 4, 3 of them probably will depart Manchester United this summer.
You're going to put your money on who?
Well, I think Garnacho's probably the one that would be likely to stay if any of them would stay.
Right.
However, he would represent the best PSR profit alongside Marcus Rashford because of his time at the football club and what he cost them. We know that there were heavy investments in Jadon Sancho and Anthony, so therefore the book price on those players will change, and we know that PSR is such a big factor in what clubs do and how they do business at the moment. But again, you need someone to come to the table. You need someone to pick up the phone to Manchester United and say, right, we want Marcus Rashford, we're prepared to pay you this, and we're prepared to give him this chunk of the wages that he's currently on.
And that hasn't happened yet. A player of his quality.
Well, I think Marcus Rashford, is so talented. He's an exceptional player, and you saw in moments at Aston Villa last season that he could still do it at the highest level. He said publicly he's got a desire to play in the Champions League. The likelihood of him playing for those sides in the Premier League and the Champions League, Man City, no. Liverpool, no. Newcastle, probably not. So therefore, he's going to have to go into Europe. We know that he is on a list at Barcelona. However, Nico Williams is on that list. Luis Diaz is on that list. And Barcelona have real struggles when it comes to their finances to not only sign players, but register them. I could imagine Marcus Rashford going on loan at some stage later on in the window with Manchester United having to pay a chunk of his wages, maybe getting a Jadon Sancho performance-type deal on the table. However, Manchester United go back to pre-season on the 7th of July, on Monday. Does Marcus Rashford really want to go back into that building? Does Jadon Sancho really want to go back into that building with everything that's happened over the course of the last 6, 12, 18 months?
And does Amorim want them there, disrupting things?
If they might come in with a clean slate and say, no, I'm here to crack on and play. Yeah. I'm a top quality professional and I just want to get fit.
I think the ideal scenario here for Manchester United is those 4 players leave and they all leave on a permanent deal.
Yep.
For 2 reasons. They're clearly not part of the plans under Ruben Amorim, but also the finances that they would bring in. I would guess, just as an estimate, you would be able to glean about 125 to 150 million pounds if you were to sell all 4 of those players in this summer's transfer window. And the reason it's so important for the second reason is because we think that the Cunha deal and the potential Mbeumo deal is part of Manchester United's budget on transfers. Thereafter, to fund further deals and further big deals, it looks likely that they're going to have to sell to bring new players in. I'm not saying that that's going to have to be guaranteed, but it looks like that would be the direction of travel. And it is easier said than done. And Manchester United are the prime example of it in the past few seasons where they found it so difficult to sell these players. Not just these players, but players that they've had on their books that they don't want on their books anymore. And they've had to try and be creative with certain deals, with loans, with options and obligations, as opposed to this player's performed so well, we can make a profit on them. I can't remember many occasions in the last 10 or 15 years when Manchester United have made profit on some of their players, which is what they're trying to do with these 4 just now.
And it remains to be seen whether that will happen.
Manchester United are gearing up for a major clear-out this summer as part of Ruben Amorim's squad reshaping and in response to growing pressure from financial regulations. The club is reportedly ready to listen to offers for several big names, including Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford. Sancho, who spent last season on loan at Borussia Dortmund, is not in Amorim's plans and is expected to leave permanently, with Juventus and Saudi clubs showing interest. Rashford, once a key figure at United, could also be sold if the right offer comes in, especially with interest brewing from Bayern Munich and Barcelona. In addition to those headline names, United are open to moving on several other senior players. Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Harry Maguire, and Scott McTominay are all considered expendable as the club looks to cut its wage bill and refresh the squad. Players like Anthony, Facundo Pellistri, Hannibal Mejbri, and Victor Lindelof could also be offloaded, depending on offers. Many of these players have struggled for form or consistency, and United are eager to bring in new faces better suited to Amorim's tactical system and long-term vision. The goal is clear: reduce the squad size, create financial space, and reinvest in more dynamic, system-compatible talent. With links to attacking options like Brian Mbeumo and Ollie Watkins, and a desire to sign a new midfielder and goalkeeper, United are preparing for a summer of heavy activity. Selling the right players at the right time will be crucial, not just to balance the books, but to build a team that can finally challenge for major honours again.